Yeah, greetings and jumbo to all those out there today. And I'd like to welcome you once again to another one of our PACM Mojo sessions. Uh, Today we'll be having two guest speakers, one from Uganda, Brother Zulu, and one from Azania, that's Ndugu, and one from Azania, that's Brother Sabelo. Today we'll be looking at the topic entitled, Shall We Forget About Slavery? And this is coming from a popular singer known as Akon. Akon hails from the Senegal. I think he was actually born in the USA, but grew up part of his life in the Senegal, then went back to America. And he's now saying that our constant dwelling on slavery and reparations seems to be holding us back. So he's of the opinion that we should forget about those and just make our way back to Africa. So that's what we'll be looking at today. So today that will be the topic. But just before we go into the actual topic, as usual, we will pay homage to our ancestors. So at this point in time, I'm going to ask Brother Mani to change the whole atmosphere for us by doing us the honor of. I know it's said it's not actually a libation, so it's just a way of changing the mood.
Energy.
Yeah, to change the energy. So I'll pass you over now to Brother Mani.
Yes, Hamjambo Jamal, which means greetings, kindred, in Kiswahili. And Kiswahili is the language that the Pan-African Congress movement chooses to use as much as possible, because at the 6th Pan-African Congress, it was decided that if there ever was going to be a United States of Africa, or a great African Republic, whatever you want to call it, then the lingua franca of that entity should be Kiswahili, because it's one of the most spoken languages throughout Africa. Okay, so as Ndugu Tahaka says, my name is Ndugu Imani. Ndugu means brother, and I am a member of Pan-African Congress movement, and I have been asked to change the vibration through a ritual that we use in the Pan-African Congress movement. But before I start, I have to ask the elder who's here, Mzee Pepekai, if I have the permission to continue.
Yes, you can continue.
Okay, right, lovely. Thank Santi Sana. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. So Ndugu. That should be available soon.
Yes, it's coming up now. Right.
Okay, wonderful. So, yes, the ritual is called Mabadiliko ya Nishati, the change of energy. So it's not the traditional libation, but it's very similar. But it's something that we use in virtual space, so that we can be one with each other, even though we can't be in the same physical space, because we are consciousness. We are part of this supreme consciousness. And we use this ritual in order to join with each other and change the vibration where we are, and then link to the supreme consciousness, and then able to link with each other so we can be in one accord. So in order to start, first of all, before we start, we need to get ourselves into a calming meditative state. So we're going to use our breath, because breath is our link between the physical realm and the spiritual realm. So we need to use our breath properly and take us to that space. So with this ritual, if you wish to take part, please do. Listen and watch what's on the screen. If you don't, then that's absolutely fine. You don't have to. You just have to watch, because African spirituality is not about coercion. It's a way of life. Okay, so if you are going to take part, if you could join me by sitting straight, if you're sitting in a chair, so that your energy centers are all in line, with your feet flat on the floor, your hands on your thighs, and we're going to close our eyes and we're going to breathe. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe 3 times, because 3 is the number, the spiritual number for coming forth or coming into being. And this is what we're trying to do as brothers and sisters, sharing across the world about bringing into being our liberation and bringing into our freedom and being our authentic spiritual selves and African selves. So if you breathe with me, so we're going to breathe out and then breathe in, and that's 1 cycle. So if as you breathe out, if you pull your stomach in, so closing your eyes, we breathe out and we relax the stomach and breathe in. Moja. We breathe out, pulling the stomach in. And then relax the stomach. Breathe in through the nose. Feel the lungs, feeling more calm. And now breathe out through the mouth, pulling the stomach in. And then relax. And breathe in through the nose. Lovely. So now you can open your eyes. And what we're going to do is I'm going to ring this triangle chime 7 times, because 7 is the spiritual number for wisdom, seeking, and truth. 7 is a number that we see all through existence. 7 laws of Tahuti, 7 colors in the spectrum, 7 major notes in the musical scale, 7 layers to the skin, 7 entry points to the body, and so on and so forth. So I'll ring it, and as I do, just continue breathing deeply. Let the vibration go around you, go over you and through you, just changing it and changing the energy where you are, and then linking you to open you up to your consciousness, to the supreme consciousness, Wote, the all, and then that allows us to be in one accord and join with each other, even though we're not in the same physical space. And so I shall begin. Saba, 7. So, Mabadeliko Ya Nishati. To change the energy or vibration, we now thank the powers, to ask that we have a closer connection with them and that they assist us in manifesting our objectives. So this is like call and response. So I say at the beginning, and then we then join together and we say Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja, which means we are one or we are the same thing. So Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja, but I say I begin. So, and you can read everything that's here. That's either in Swahili or there's some Kemetic terms, but everything is translated into English. Ninaomba ya muomba awote. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba ya nebacha. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya mamiwata. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya shu. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya tefnut. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya nut. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Now we start on the powers of the PACMTV, or Company of Powers of the Kemetic Tree of Life. There are principles in that underlie all of existence, but also in our own psyches. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Geb. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Auset. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Sepek. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Heteru. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Haru. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Herakuti. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Maat. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Saka. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Tahuti. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Alsa. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya Amen. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. And now we can call upon those ancestors in our direct line, our direct bloodline. Ninaomba Bibi Ketera Reed. Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba Ashley Ratigan.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Ninaomba Babu Edgerton Reed. Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Do you have anybody else you wish to call?
Yeah, Ninaomba Louise Hines and Sylvester Ratigan.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja. Okay, and now we can call upon those ancestors who are not in our direct line, but who gave their lives and made tremendous contributions to our communities, to our race, to our nation, and had lives that are worthy of us to follow. So, Ninomba John Jacques Dessalines' 262nd birthday today. Sisi ni Kitu Kamoja.
Ninomba Sheikh Amadou Bamba.
Sisi ni Kitu Kamoja. Ninomba Mzee, the Honorable Marcus Mazar Garvey. Sisi ni Kitu Kamoja. Anyone else?
Yeah, Nina Omba. We can say Nina Omba, Queen Nzinga.
Sisi ni Kitu Kamoja. Nina Omba Mzee Steve Biko. Sisi ni Kitu Kamoja. Ninaomba Mzee Winnie Mandela. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba Mzee Amy Ashwood Garvey. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba Mzee Amy Jacques Garvey. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba Mzee Nana Bonsu. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba Baba Tegel. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. And now we can call upon those ancestors who we don't always know their names, but they gave us a tremendous legacy for us to follow. First of all, those who we should never forget. We're always looking for us to call upon them and receive their guidance and support. Those who died and fought in the Arabic enslavement, and those in the European enslavement, those from the colonialism and those from neo-colonialism. Ninaomba mababu ya Mangamazi. Ninaomba mababu, Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya Gula Vita, those who fought and died in the Gula Wars. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya Taifa la Maasai. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya Freedom and Land Party. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya APLA. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya Taifa la Kemet. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya Taifa la Taseti. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninaomba mababu ya Twa na Hutu. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. Ninawaomba wanaishi ambao watatetea sisi na wale mababu ambao bado hawajazaliwa. Sisi ni Kitu Kimoja. And I end on the words of power, the affirmation, nguvu zote kwa watu wetu, na mapenzi ya wote ni mapenzi yetu. Upata people, and the will of the all is our will. Asante sana, Jama. Yeah, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I'm muted. I'll mute myself. So, yes. Yeah, greetings everybody and welcome back to the PACMTV. This is the arm of the Pan-African Congress Movement, an organization now which has been going since 1975. Now the PACM is proud to say it's an organization that has touched the hearts of many all throughout the Pan-African world. And what the PACM has been doing since its inception is holding meetings open to the public, welcoming speakers from all over the Pan-African world to give their thoughts. These meetings used to take place at 25 West Green Road, Head Start Bookshop, from as low as the 1970s. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus situation, we could no longer able to do them in a physical venue, but hence we are on this virtual venue. But it's a blessing in disguise because it gives us the ability to reach out even further to our brothers and sisters wherever they are in the world and welcome on this platform to share their thoughts with us. So today the topic we'll be looking at is a statement that was given recently by Akon. Now, some of you may know who Akon is. If you don't, basically, he's a singer of Senegalese origin. He grew up most of his life in the United States, but now he's heavily involved in investing in Africa and encouraging people to look to Africa. I mean, his most ambitious project to date is actually trying to build a city in Senegal, a city that's state of the art, just to show that there's no barrier to what we can achieve if we put our minds to it. So one of the statements that he gave while being interviewed in a program was that forget about slavery, reparations, and just make your way to Africa. Because his argument is that by us dwelling so much on the past and also dwelling on know we're being hard done by, but what he's saying, some of us has made that burden us down. And because of that, there's an inability to do anything effective. So what we should do, we should just push those to the side and just make our way to the motherland and begin to do what we need to do there. So today, I would like to say I'm pleased to have two guests, one from Uganda, that's Brother Zulu, and another one from Azania, aka South Africa, which is Brother Sabelo. So what I'd like to do to start off is just by asking Brother Zulu just to tell us a little bit about himself, a little background about himself before we open up the floor to tackle this question, this statement by Akon. So Brother Zulu, can you hear me? I think we're having a little technical difficulty with Brother Zulu. Let me see if Brother Sabelo. Brother Sabelo? Brother Sabelo, can you hear me? Seems like it's not our day today again. We're having certain technical difficulties here. Let me just check. Brother Pepperkai, are you hearing me clear? Are you hearing me fine?
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly, brother.
Okay. Yeah, we're just having a bit of difficulty.
My connection is really picking up, but give it a try.
Yeah, I can see it's in and out. It's in and out. Okay, let's try. So, Brother Sabelo, can you hear? Am I coming through?
Yeah, I hear you, and the system keeps breaking up. I'm not sure what exactly the problem is.
Okay. Well, in cases like this, sometimes if you mute your camera and just use the audio, it may help. So if you switch off your camera and just use the audio.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a bit more stable like that. So can you still hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you better now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so could you just say a little bit about yourself and your organization before we go into the actual session?
Sorry, you're breaking up again, Tahaka.
Yeah. Okay, let's try again. Hello? Brother Zulu. Any luck, Brother Zulu? Can you hear me? No. Oh. I'll tell you what. Could you both just log out completely and log back in and see if that would help? Just come out of the system and come back in. Sometimes that works. Hello, Brother Zulu? Brother Zulu, you're muted, so if you're saying anything, I won't be able to hear you. Okay. All right. Boy, we seem to be having a bad day. All right, they're trying to come back in. Let's see if it works this time. Okay. Right. Greetings, Brother Sabelo. Hello? Hello, Brother Sabelo.
Please, if I maybe sign in on your phone, it might make a difference. I'm using it now.
Okay. All right. So what he's going to do is going to transfer to his phone because sometimes you get a better signal on the phone.
My email so that I can get the link.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what difference it will make.
Right. Let's try. Hello, Brother Zulu.
You hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we hear you, but not that clear. Just keep talking and see what happens. Just keep talking.
Okay. My name is Zulu. I come from Uganda. I run a group called Uganda.
Okay, now we're not hearing Brother Zulu, you're not coming through at all. You're not coming through. No, you're not coming through. So let's try something. Okay. No. Brother Sabelo. Brother Sabelo.
Yes, Brother Tahaka, I can hear you.
Okay, let us go ahead then. Just give us a brief background on yourself and your organization.
Okay. I hope the system is going to allow us to move on this time. Yeah, Sabelo Sbanda is my name. I'm the founder of the School of African Awareness. and the school is currently based in Azania. For those who may still be operating from the side of miseducation, Azania is the country currently. And our main thrust really is to reverse the ill effects of what is called education, which in actual fact is African miseducation and
Come again. Okay. Okay, but oh. All right, let us try to see if Brother Zulu. Brother Zulu. Hello, Brother Zulu. Hello, Brother Zulu. No, when it seems that there's no luck today. It's not getting. You're not coming through at all. But hold on, your mic's muted. Brother Zulu, your mic's muted. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I come from Uganda.
No, the
And
line.
some of our Uganda we are dedicated for how long people are not what reforms of the policy about. Now,
I'm sorry, Brother Zulu, you're not coming through. We can't hear at all. We can't understand. It's breaking up. It's breaking up. I'll leave it for a bit and then see if we're having a better look in a while.
right.
No, you're just not coming through. No, you're just not coming through. Hold on. Okay. Okay, I think what we'll do while we try and solve those technicalities is just to. I'm hearing a lot of feedback in my headphones. Yeah, it's just to carry on with the issue. So we do have here Brother Elder Peppercoin, and I know Brother Mon is in the background as well. So what we'll do, we will. Let me just mute this a bit. Yeah. Yeah. We will have a look at this statement that Akon made. Just getting a lot of feedback. Hold on, let me see. Okay, that's a bit better. So this is a chance because this is more of an open meeting. So please feel free with your questions from the beginning. You see what the title is, forget about slavery, reparations, and make your way back to Africa. So all those watching us at the moment, please send in your questions and comments, and we will put them up on the screen and also include you in the discussion. But while we're waiting to do that, I think when Akon made that statement, we're looking at about 3-4 weeks ago now. I know it proved very controversial in many quarters. Well, and there's a lot of feedback in my oh yeah, that's a lot better. Elder Peppercoin, a lot of the feedback was coming from your end. Have you got anything apart from your computer on that you're listening to that's feeding back?
No, nothing at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute you. It stopped. So I'm not sure. Okay, we'll just persevere. But for some reason, the because sometimes I get feedback if your Gmail thing's on. Is it on?
Are you speaking to me, Brother Talker?
Yeah, but we're still getting quite a bit of feedback.
No, man. I come straight in on the
Okay,
street.
all right. I'm not sure today is just okay, those brothers are back. I'm gonna try again another time and see if we get a better signal this time. Oh. Hold on. Okay, while we're trying to do things behind the background, let's just look at the topic itself. Like I said, when Akon made the statement, it proved quite controversial in quite a few quarters, especially, I would say, to those in the diaspora who, as you know, who ancestors were taken out of Africa for a long time. Because slavery is something that people think is not something that we just can forget. It's something that should be remembered, taught to the future generations to make sure that they're aware of what happened, so that something like that could never happen again. Also, the question of reparation is that we were mistreated for over 400 years. And when we look around, everybody else have been given reparation in terms of their treatment for what they've gone through. Yeah, hold on. I'm just getting a lot. I can hardly hear myself. There's a lot of feedback coming in somehow. Yeah. Yeah, but Elder Pepper is definitely coming from your end. I'll tell you what, if you could log out and come back in,
Okay.
and let's see if that solves it. Let's see if that solves it. All right, let me see if, greetings, Brother Sabelo. Let's see if it's get a better connection this time. Oh, no. Oh, it's one of those days today. Okay. Okay, let's have another go, Brother Zulu. And let's see if any better luck this time. Yeah, you're still muted. You gotta unmute your mic. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yeah, no.
Do you hear me?
No.
Brother Haka?
No, I'm sorry. It's just not working today. Just not. Mm-mm. No, it's just not.
Not coming through?
No. It's patchy.
No
You
sound
can hear you.
at all?
No, it's not. No, nobody will be able to hear that properly. Okay, let me bring. No. Okay. No. Brother Zone is just not. I'm gonna have to. No, it's just not. It's just not coming through. That's not coming through. Let me see. Yeah, don't know if you can. No, it's gone again. No. Why? It seems to be one of those days the gremlins gone wild. I mean, they're coming in, coming out. But in the meanwhile, Elder Pepperkai, in terms of the topic, what's your view on it overall? Just a quick synopsis while I try and uh, sort out what's happening in the background.
The position by our brother Akon,
Mm-hmm.
I'm reminded of two stories One, the Tower of Babel, and the second one is a family of man, his wife, and his son, who set off to go to market with a donkey. And as he set off to the market, the boy was riding the donkey, and the man and his wife was walking behind the donkey. And somebody who they met along the way said, "Young man, why are you so inconsiderate? Your parents are elders. You're young. Come down off the donkey and let your father get on the donkey." So the boy come off the donkey. The father gets onto the donkey. The boy is walking with his mother behind the donkey while the father rides on. As I progress a little further, they met another person on the road, and they said, "Gentlemen, why are you so cruel? Your wife is walking and you're riding. You should come off the donkey and let your wife ride the donkey." So, of course, the husband come off the donkey, the wife gets on the donkey, and the father and the son walk behind the donkey while the mother rides away to the market. As they progressed further along the road, they met another stranger, and the person said, "Woman, the donkey is strong enough to carry both you and your husband. Why are you so selfish? You alone want to ride the donkey." So the husband gets onto the donkey, and both the mother, the father, was riding the donkey. As they progressed a bit further, they met another person on the road, and they said, "You two big people riding this small donkey, what you should do, both of you should lift up the donkey and carry the donkey." So, of course, the husband and the wife struggled as best they could and set off to carry the donkey. I use that analogy to say that we're lacking in organization as a people because there's no body anywhere on planet Earth that speak for us as African people. So anybody comes up with an idea, throws that into the ring, it's been debated, discussed, and oftentimes it dies a natural death. So who are the spokesman and spokeswomen of the race? What vehicle do we have to communicate with each other? How do we raise our ideas that we have for liberation? And how do we get them discussed, agreed upon, and acted upon? These are the questions that we must ask ourselves as a people. Where are we? And where are we going? And by what means are we equipped for the journey? So to say forget slavery and to forget reparation, as Brother Taka in his opening introduction said, how can we forget these experiences that we've been through, that has cost us so much, that has injured us so much? How do we recover from slavery? And what part does reparation play? Because the position I support strongly about reparation is not so much about the money that we are due, but how can we begin to repair the damage done to minds? And I believe that the greatest task, not the only task, because we have to multitask. There's so many things that we have to do. But I truly believe that the most important thing we have to begin to do is the business of self-repair, psychological repair, to begin to have the mind to determine who we are, our identity, our purpose on this planet, and the direction in which we take. For example, how often two Africans or a number of Africans are engaged in a conversation, and this one says, "Oh, I'm a Caribbean. I'm not African." And somebody is saying, "A white man born in South Africa is an African. He's a white African." And the Arabs, who have done so much genocide against us, have about a third of our continent, and the few of us who still live in there are treated like, I can't even find the words, that we're treated on our own continent by foreigners who we haven't driven out of there. So the fact that we're debating this issue, the question we must ask ourselves, who speaks for us? What are the vehicles, the institutions that speak for us? Because certainly the AU doesn't. Because the AU does not speak for itself. It's so-called, well, not so-called, it's Europeans, the Western powers, the Chinese, the Indians, the Arabs, everybody speak to us, about us. I'm not really speaking for ourselves, because we can only begin to speak for ourselves when we know self, when we begin to determine for ourselves and direct ourselves to the goals that we want.
Okay. Okay, Brother Sabelo is back in. Let me try to see if we can have any better luck. Brother Sabelo, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, my brother. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. Can you hear me on your side?
Yes, fine, clear, loud and clear. Yeah, just go
Okay,
ahead.
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I'm happy to participate, and I'll take a bit from where Elder Pukai left off. He is talking about the issues of identity and talking to issues about who speaks for us, who articulates our as African people, because that is one of the around reparations and our relationship with the motherland we will find ourselves forever in a situation where anyone and everyone feels they have the right to speak for us. Anyone and everyone has a right to basically seek to inform our position. And we push ourselves into a corner in the sense that we find ourselves, therefore, compromised in what exactly informs direction. As example, the about
Brother Sabelo, you're just completely breaking up.
the
Oh,
continent and the ill.
yeah. Oh, it's not our day today. Okay. Brother Zulu, let's try yourself now. Let's see if we're having a better look.
Okay.
Yeah.
You get me? Now, my position about this issue, I talk with Akon was saying we forget about slavery and reparation. We keep and our brothers back home in Africa. If we can remember the American government started called American colonization society, we wanted to return our brothers and sisters back to the land in 1860s.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately,
They found out
Brother Zulu, you're just completely breaking up. We're not hearing what you're saying at all.
they said they found out
Just
that
not,
return the brothers
just not hearing.
back. Troops, they are going to all the seals because they are the guys who can show us some ports, the ones in the street, but
No, we're
paper
just not.
and they have those skills.
No, Brother Zulu, we're just not hearing.
So
If you, Brother Zulu, if you mute your camera,
was,
I think that would help. Just turn the camera off and just use the audio and see if that would help.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see if we're having a better one.
So my position is that I agree with Akon of about forgetting slavery and reparations to make way back here in Africa. If you can remember, the American colonization society was started sometime back in the 1860s so that they can return our brothers they had stolen from Africa and enslaved in the US, that's in Europe and in the Caribbean. So it was something they saw that wanted to get rid of black folks. But they didn't hold out that these Africans are going back to Africa with all the skills they put into carton, they're into manufacturing,
Unfortunately,
shipbuilding. So
Brother Zulu, unfortunately, I can't hear you. So what I'm going to do, there's quite a few points here or some questions. So I'm going to take those and hopefully, I don't know, things might sort itself out. So let me just take some of these points first. I don't know, today's just, all right, some questions and comments have come in. Okay, let's put some of them up on the screen and let's talk around some of them. Okay, there's one here. Let me put that up. Let me make it a bit bigger. Let's see. Okay. So this point here, these technical problems demonstrate why we need to be skilled up in these areas so that we are in complete control and not relying on others. That's Black scientists and inventors Yes. So I agree. You know, when we, if if you're if you are making a move to the motherland, it is always best to be in possession of a skill, and possibly a skill that is in great demand also. So let me try and get this one out. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll bring Elder Peppercoy into this as well, since yeah, your mic's muted, Elder Peppercoy.
Yes, I'm on.
Yeah, did you see the question?
About
Yeah,
the technical issue.
I'm plus,
Well,
you need
goes
to
without
adjust your
saying,
camera.
Brother Tom.
You're off shot at the moment. We can't see you. Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay. Yes, that goes without saying, because for all we know, between all of us, somebody is in control of the technology and having a good laugh at us because we're so dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And until we begin to master these technology, own these technology, and be able to control and defend them, we're in serious trouble. I remember when Al Jazeera as a TV station was launched, and that was during the Gulf War. And as you know, the media plays a serious role in any conventional war, because the media will report as to who is winning and who is losing. And at that time, America, and with all their allied countries and all the medias under their domain, was pushing um, the news in favor of the American and the Allies. And when Al Jazeera come into the picture, Al Jazeera was showing a different focus on the war. And America bombed Al Jazeera. And the idea was put it out of business because it was bad for their propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So
we have
okay,
to
Terry.
understand that to win this war of liberation, to gain our independence, it's not just independence of mind, but independent of space, independent of tools, independent of system of delivery, and we could go on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the AU building is a nice, brand new, modern building, but it was built by the Chinese. Chinese money, Chinese architect, Chinese builders. No, the Chinese are very interested in what Africans are saying, deciding, and plan to do. And if the Chinese are building our headquarters where we meet and discuss matters, they'd be quite foolish if they wouldn't plant the bugs in place and wouldn't be looking for them and find them to listen to what we're saying.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. But Brother Peppercoy, we can hardly see you, so you need some light
Okay,
in the background. Yeah, and so in terms of that question, just remember we're trying to relate it back to the issue that we are actually discussing. The issue is should we forget about slavery reparation and return back to Africa? So in terms of asking about the technical problems, That so I don't know if the question or the questioner is asking that because he thinks that African people in the West in general lack a lot of these technical skills that's needed to nation build. That is why some of them are kind of reluctant to return to the motherland or reluctant to go and make a contribution because they don't feel that they have the right skills. Because, you know, I'm just trying to relate it back to the actual question that we're discussing today. Brother Zulu is back in, so let's give him another try. Brother Zulu?
Michael, that hack?
Yeah. Yeah, it's still the same problem. It's just not coming through clear.
It's not coming through.
No, it's breaking up. So
It's unfortunate.
yeah, listeners won't be able to. All right, let's try again. Just talk to a bit of it.
Okay. Okay, so what we speak about is motherland. Indians come all the way from India. They establish banks in Uganda, in Africa, in Kenya, in Azania, and hold them. And then it happens, they take the profits and bank them back to their countries. Still, when governments want what they call domestic loans, they get them from these Caucasians and Indians, like the Afghans. Still, when government is paying, give them at high interest. So it is back to people who it costs more domestic lenders, but yet they are not African. But if we had establishments backed by our brothers and sisters from diaspora, our governments, instead of vetting those loans with too high interest from the US, from where?
Unfortunately, Brother Zulu, it's
from our
no, we're just not hearing you properly. You're just not coming through. So no,
I'm not.
Yeah, it's breaking up. It's bouncing up. The listeners won't be able to hear your phone. So it's a shame. Okay. So I don't know if it's possible. I will definitely try this again. I'll definitely bring you on again very soon. So I don't know if it's possible to just post up some of the points that you have. Just write them up and post them into the comments so we could bring them up. Okay. If that's possible. Yeah, until possible. Yeah, until we get the sound right. Because at the moment we're just not hearing you. Okay. Let me just take. All right. Okay. It's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate what's happening today. It's funny, in all our broadcasts, we have never really had this degree of technical problems before. This is the first time we've had it to this extent. Anyways, don't worry, we'll persevere because there's quite a few questions that have come up. There's another one here. Okay, let's go to this one. It's the same. It's always going to be difficult to liberate ourselves going through. I think there should be other people's medium, especially if they have no intention in us pursuing liberation. Yes, that's for sure. You know, it's always going to be difficult liberating ourselves. But I think what Akon is saying, because remember, we're trying to put everything around the actual question, the actual point that Akon brought up. What Akon's saying, because remember, he's had a bit of both worlds. He was actually like born in the USA, grew up in the Senegal for a time before he went back to America. So he's seen both sides. And from what he's saying, in terms of the sides he's seen, he's saying that he thinks the Africans in the diaspora have internalized slavery and reparation to an extent that it has paralyzed them, that they are unable to leave the West, even though the West is killing them. The West is killing us. The West is treating us bad. The West is making it clear that we are second class citizens. And still, there's an inability for many of us to make that move. On the other hand, we can see all over Africa, especially I would mention Ghana and Senegal and a few other countries have actually come out and openly says, we would like you to return, come and make your contribution. So it's not as if that perpetual myth that was spun for for a long time to say, well, people on the continent don't like us, and if we return back, they're going to give us a hard time. There's no such thing as that. People in Africa now are saying, come back, but there still seems to be that inability for us, many of us, just to say, okay, I'm going to make that move for the simple reason you can call it emotional attachment, because a lot of us felt hard done by, which we have been. And some of them are saying, especially I know the African Americans are saying, well, we've built the country, so we have a stake in it. So why should we, after building the country, why should we just walk away from it? And plus, they're still holding out to be compensated for what happened to them. They're still holding out for reparation. And those two things in itself, in a way, has paralyzed them, or has paralyzed Africans in the West to such an extent that they're not giving Africa a fair crack of the whip. I think that's what Akon is really saying. So to say, yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, they're always going to make it difficult for us. That's the name of the game. From they took us out of Africa, they've been making life hell and been making life difficult. And we got to understand that's the name of the game. Nothing is going to be easy. If we want to achieve something, we've got to get up and make it happen. Now, again, referring back to Akon, he says he's showing the way. Because here he was in America, which many, as we know, many people on the African continent aspire to go to. We can see from what we're seeing every day, crossing the Sahara Desert, dying in their hundreds, then making the arduous journey across the Mediterranean again, dying in their hundreds, and they're still determined to leave. So Akon is saying, well, he lived in America, he had it all. So, if we look, we can use the word the American dream. He was one of the ones that achieved this American dream, but despite that, he felt that it's his duty to return back to Africa and give back, which he is doing. And he says he thinks Africans in general would be a lot better on the continent. So I'm just looking at the comments and the question and trying to keep it as close to the topic of the day as possible. So I don't know, Elder Peppercorn, if you saw that particular question. I'll put it up again. That was a question just to get your comments on that. And remember, like I'm saying, bearing in mind the topic of the day. So I'm just trying to keep it as close to the topic of the day as possible. Yeah. Okay, you're going to have to unmute your mic.
The situation is not either or. Is how committed we are. What does Africa mean to us Africans in Africa and in the diaspora. Because as you rightfully said, a lot of our young people are paying serious money to traffickers to get out of Africa. Because we feel there's no future there for us. We have to go elsewhere. Europe is the place, this magic place that we rushing to get to. And there's some of us who are in foreign land, like Britain, other places in Europe, and America, who seriously want to relocate to Africa. But we can't just decide that we're going to Africa and just by magic land in Africa. What is our plan? And do we just begin to move as individuals? Do we begin to build a Back to Africa movement to understand the task ahead, the challenge that we face? Because right now, we who are in the diaspora, there's no particular country to which we can say, yes, that is the place I belong to and that's where I want to go. Because if a particular state, be it Ghana, be it Senegal, be it Kenya, whoever it is, decide that Africans in the diaspora are welcome, that is only one state. Africa is 50 odd states. What is that collective Africa position? And Africans in the diaspora. The closest we come is what is mentioned as the sixth region. But even if that was well thought out, well planned, and is being executed, it means that we in the diaspora will have a bigger say, a big privilege about Africa than the Africans who live on the continent itself. Because there's no free movement of Africans on the continent as citizens of the entire Africa, with citizens of particular states. So we as Africans outside and inside of Africa have to seriously begin to organize ourselves to address these important questions and come up with the right answers. And in those answers, how do we implement these decisions that we've arrived at? Because when the Europeans decided that they're going to just march in, carve up Africa, grab all the resources, make us slave for their development, they met in Europe, and that conference was, somebody can rescue me if I'm wrong, I think it was 4 months, not 4 days, not 4 weeks. For 4 months, the Europeans were arguing between themselves how they should carve up Africa. Now, where have we, as African people, anywhere on the planet, whether it be in the Americas, whether it be in Europe, whether it be in the Caribbean, have had 2 days of discussion on this subject, a week of discussion on this subject? Marcus Garvey, with his organization, the UNIA, that had over 6 million members all over the world. With the UNI convention, they last for days, for weeks. And these were the kind of issues that representatives come from the Caribbean, from Africa itself, from all over the globe to address these questions. So while we can talk in a medium like this broadcast, we really have to look at the kind of organization we have and how these organizations addressing these issues. So these are not discussions for individuals, small groups of us. This is a race issue that we need to begin to connect with each other, to begin to raise these issues in a serious forum, to come up with the kind of decision, agreement, plans, and how to execute and to make these into reality. So we have a long road ahead of us. And what is the first step? And the first step is that we seriously have to look, each one of us, how can this be done? And it can only be done in an organized way. And we have to begin seriously to address our powerlessness. And this powerlessness stems that we refuse to organize at the level that is needed to address these issues.
Yes, that's a good point that you made. But I think getting back to the actual question or point that Akon made, I think what he's saying, to an extent, you understand that because remember, from Garvey's time, moves were being made to organize the masses and to organize the masses in a way that they would be in a position to um, to return to Africa if they so wish. And we know at that time there was an aggressive stance by the European powers to prevent that from happening. Because we know Garvey himself made many attempts to get to Africa and he never achieved it because he was prevented at all steps of the way. But I think what Akon is pointing out, the trickle has started. People are getting up and people are making decisions and people are one by one making their way there. And that, trickle is now noticeable. And it's now noticeable by many African governments. Notice more and more Africans in the West are just turning up. They're just turning up in many African countries sometime. As you know, could be on a tourist visa. And when the visa expires, they refuse to leave. And so they have to go through all the rigmarole. And when they maybe they're arrested and asked to leave, they're saying, well, I'm home. If this is my birthright. So I know, for example, in Gambia now, that's being discussed in Parliament. In many of the African countries, that issue is now being taken up in those individual countries' parliaments because it's an issue that they can no longer turn away from. It's an issue that they have to now face up to. And in so doing, I think Akon is saying there's nothing stopping anybody right now if they have their passport and have the faith to make their way to any of the African countries. We know Ghana is very popular because it's put out the call. We know Gambia is very popular, but people are making their way right across Africa. Senegal, Rwanda, Uganda, you name it. They're just turning up. So that's becoming now an issue. We know that the AU talk about the sixth region, but as we know, talk is cheap. They say the sixth region, they say, but how long ago? And we know these talks are going on for years, and they will continue to go on for years with no action. So it's up to people to make it happen. To me, it's up to people to make it happen, and I think that's what Akon is pushing, because he held up several examples of people who have made their way to Africa, established themselves, and are doing well. And on that basis, they have then reached back into the diaspora and encourage others to come. And like I'm saying, that trickle is now constant. I cannot see how they're going to be able to stop it. So yes, I agree with what you're saying, Elder Pepper, that it'd be good to have everything in an organized fashion, say like what God was doing, have a mass movement where we can then go to the AU, and the AU can officially sanction and see us as different. Because at the moment, what is happening, when we turn up in Africa, we are treated as any other foreigner. And that's what a lot of people from the diaspora are saying. An exception should be made for us. We know our story, and our stories bring us right back to the motherland. So we should not be treated like how the Chinese or any Europeans treated. They should be always an exception where we are concerned. I'm just mindful because I don't want to drift too far away from the topic. And the topic, what Akon is saying, we are holding ourselves back. We are holding ourselves back because, we can get up and we can go to Africa, and that is possible. Now, I know Brother Zulu is back on, so let's have another try, Brother Zulu. Brother Zulu?
Hello, Brother Haka.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
We're still having the same problem. The audio is just breaking off.
Audio is breaking off. Oh,
Yeah,
I wanted to throw some points onto the matter of that issue of returning back to Africa. Because African people, I will come back home. They didn't run away from Africa. They were stolen from Africa, taken, joined Africa, and enslaved. So they are is always a warm welcome. And as so recently, the journey of the return, people returned. They went into Senegal, went and visited as far as the doors of no return in the Emina Castle, where our people were parted from their mothers, and they packed and stacked and dehumanized, and then put on the ship, ferried as property, and as when the white man is taking our human resource from us with our main resource and everything he has already done. But on matter of fact is a point of our people returning, expect much from occasions. Really, if they never paid you after the June 18th, the June 10th of 1865, they never paid the mule they promised, the 2 mules, and the 40 acres of land. Africans not giving anything about that. Okay. So from all those years, there has been a systematic segregation.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brother Zulu, same problem. I'm sorry.
75% of
yeah, you're just breaking up.
You're
not coming
they're
through.
in prison.
Sorry, we can't hear you. Yeah, it's a pity. It's a pity because the brother has got so much points, but it's just not happening. There's a point here. We have enough energy, brain power, and natural resources to create our own technology for communication. You see, what I'm trying to asked is to make the questions or the points related to the topic. Now, I'm trying my best to fit what people are saying into the topic of the day. So I only presume what they're saying here, we have enough energy, brain power, natural resources to create our own technology. What is stopping us? Well, in a way, nothing is stopping us. If we have enough engineers and technologies and can put systems together that can benefit Africa, there's nothing really stopping us apart from ourselves, one. And two, people might say when they go to Africa, the environment is not conducive to what they would like to do. Now, that could be another reason why they would say it's stopping us. But in terms of, there's many examples of brothers and sisters who have returned to Africa and set up all sorts of technological companies. There's many examples. So I would say there's nothing stopping us. And in fact, what I would say, as we speak now, it is happening. Brothers and sisters are returning to the Africa, and they are doing many things in technology. For example, as you know, Africa now leads the world in terms of using the mobile phone to enact the deals. You know, the rest of the world are looking at Africa, how they've managed to make that happen and make it so successful. And there are many other technological innovations doing. I think what tends to happen is that a lot of the innovations and the news happening in Africa do not reach us. So we are blinded as to what's really happening. And of course, if we depend on getting our news from certain Western media, those will never be highlighted. But believe me, on the ground, there's a lot of things going on. For instance, I know in Ethiopia, technology hubs have been set up. I know in places like Ghana, in places like Senegal, in places like Cote d'Ivoire, technological hubs has been set up, and you've now find entrepreneurs solving problems particular to Africa by manufacturing writing their own software, building their own apps to tackle African problems. So I would say, yes, we have enough energy. Yes, we have enough brain power. Yes, we have enough natural resources. There's nothing stopping us. The move is being made. The only thing that's preventing us, if we take, for instance, look at the Francophone states, so-called Francophone states, we can see France is actively sabotaging moves to empower for those nations to empower themselves, because the French, as we know, cannot afford to lose that cash cow that they've had for many years. So yes, that is going on. That is stopping us. That's not us stopping of ourselves, that others trying to stop us, because Africa is so valuable to them. And they do not want to see Africans in the hands of Africa. So yes, there's a lot of sabotage going on. I mean, take for instance the internet, YouTube, all these platforms. None of them are owned by us, but we depend on them to be having meetings such as this. So of course, things like this can be interfered with and sabotage. But I think give it time. In the next few years, we will see, because I know there's a lot of things happening, you know, below the surface, and give it a few years, we will see a lot of these things start emerging. So, again, Elder Pepperkai, I don't know if you got a point on that particular one, because like I'm saying, I'm trying to bend it to fit the topic that's being asked, because I don't want questions widely different, totally outside what we're talking about today. I think you're muted.
Yes, I fully endorse what you're saying about technological development that's happening on the continent. And it's because we don't have that kind of media network to project. Because occasionally, by way of WhatsApp, I see evidence of serious technological manufacturing going on in Africa, which is very, very impressive. Motor cars, various other things that a lot of us have no knowledge that's been produced in Africa. And especially among young people, they're coming up with some very impressive, novel engineering skill in the kind of goods and services that they're producing here. And the point you make, Brother Taka, is so crucial. Because take this Brother Akon. Okay, he has that kind of vision. He has that kind of determination. And he's got the money. But just one man, and he's working to build an entire city. And that's one man. No, he's not the richest black man in the world. By no means. There's only of other people have a lot more money than he does. But what is their mindset? What is their focus? Where's their money? How much of that is being used to develop Africa in any form or fashion? So it really comes down to what is our will and how determined we are to pursue that will and to achieve the kind of things that we can achieve. Because the other side is, if we don't go into Africa and begin to do the things that Africa needs, other people come in and do it. And they be the one who reap the benefit and dominate. And we be on the outside crying and say, look what the Indians are doing. Look what the Chinese are doing. Look what this and that is doing. And they're doing it because we're not there doing it ourselves. So as you rightfully said, Brother Taka, there's nothing stopping us but ourselves. Not all of us can go to Africa. Some of us don't have the means mentally, materially, and what have you. But some of us do. And we need to make Africa our focus. And focus a very practical way. Not just talk. Because talk is cheap. But it's what we do. And the challenges we meet. When we meet those challenges, because the more of us who begin to move in a positive and constructive way, we then set a good example for others.
Yeah, that's very true. And one of the points to say, remember, we use the word Pan-African, and there's a key there. Pan-African just means African people around the world. So yes, we know not all of us will be in Africa. We'll go back to Africa. But wherever we are in large numbers, Africa is the focus. We need a focus. If we look at any other groups of people, the Chinese, not every Chinese live in China, but China is the focus. Not every Indian live in India, but India is the focus, and Africa is going to be our focus. And plus, we have the means of moving. You know, there's nothing wrong with going to Africa regular. You can say invest in a business. You don't have to live there. You could partner up with somebody. You can help that way. So I think that's what Akon is saying. Just get involved rather than sitting back as spectators and looking and saying, well, Africa over there, these are the problems they're having, these are the issues, these are the progress they're making. And you just make yourself aloof from it. Be plugged in, be part of it, you know, just by visiting, say for instance. Engage yourself in some cause, in some business there. You know, you don't physically have to live there because we know the world's a small place now. You can get on a plane and within hours you're there. You know, there's many means through virtual means that you can be constantly in communication and in touch. So I think what Akon is saying, we should have Africa as a focus. And those of us who can go and make a difference should go and make a difference. Those of us who are not in a position to physically go, because it's a focus, we are still involved. We can still give opinions, you know. And I just think it's just saying make Africa much more of a focal point than is the case at the moment. I think there's another point here. How many prime ministers of 50 plus Africans have publicly asked us? Mm-hmm. Okay. I hope you can see that. Yeah, but we try. I'm still persevering, so I'm going to ask Brother Zulu to have another try to see if anything's improved. No, but hold on, your mic's still muted.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just in and out. You know, the audio is just breaking. It's just not. It's not consistent.
Really,
Just coming. Yeah.
I just wanted to drop in something on the action
Uh-huh.
Papequia, what he has contributed. But I was told by one of the people that it is already a tragic, or it is a tragedy that most of our brothers fear coming back to Africa. It means they lose their property they have in diaspora, which is untrue. Property in diaspora and still all the property in the motherland. Africa is your home. Europe, people in Europe, black and US everywhere. But what happens is we need you because most of our people here have been educated. We are following a syllabus. It really doesn't give us any power. It castrates the energy of black people intellectually. But if we connect with you people who have done research about Africa, know where you came from, extensive research, more than the Africans on the continent, because they think they are already home, have nothing to research about home. But all of the books we have read have been extensively from diaspora, and at least you have patterns of things you have invented, like satellites, what's the is going, but another police and bring back here where the resources come from. It's quite something that is worth counting on. And the disrespect that we are getting, disrespect that we are getting, when you go to China, they don't ask, are you an African from diaspora? They call you African. And once you reach the market, they tell you, you are African. They show that we want to buy vertical so that they take it to fourth hand ready product. That's not really going to help us. At the end of that, the whoever goes there remain African. So with the respect, yet the names come from countries like Japan. That have but it's manufactured simple vehicles, simple computers,
yeah, Brother Zulu, I know you're trying, but the audience just breaking up, unfortunately. It's just breaking up. No, we can't. Oh, it's terrible. Boy, today's one of those days. Yeah, I know the brother's got a lot to say and some good points as well. But today is just one of those days that, yeah, so the last point that I put up, I'll put it up again. And it's saying, how many prime ministers of 50 plus Africans have publicly asked for their stolen children to return home? Which African leaders have spoken out against the killing? Yeah. Well, I would say to that, I think I can get what you're asking. I think I get what you're asking. Yes, the African leadership. Yes, once they get into power, they tend to stay there. You know, it's. But remember, what we've got to do, we've got to be very, very careful. Don't look at Africa through European eyes, because I think that's what we've been doing. We have just been judging Africans or Africa through European eyes. So in Europe, if there's an election every 4 years or 5 years, and you serve their term, the same thing must be transplanted into Africa. It may not suit Africa. Remember, Africa had their own systems before the Europeans came, and it was much different from what Europe had. So because we live in Europe and America, I think what we are mistakenly doing is judging Africa by European standards and looking at Africa through European eyes. Africa has to develop its own systems that suits Africa. In doing that, mistakes may be made and people may get frustrated, but it's not for us to be trying to, how can I put it, impose on African leaders to say, well, look in Europe, things run smoothly because of the system we have. We know that there's a lot of interference in Africa. When we talk about the leaders, we know those leaders are just there as symbols. They're just puppets, most of them. They take their orders from abroad. So if you're going to look to an African leader and says they haven't done this or they haven't done that or they haven't, I think you're barking up the wrong tree. The thing for us to do, if we are conscious and aware, is for us to make contact with people directly, right? Let's forget about the leadership. Let's go directly to the people. And when you talk directly to the people, you get a totally different outcomes. Now you asked about how many leaders have publicly asked their children to return home, right? Maybe not enough. But there again, you're barking up the wrong tree. Why do you have to wait for an elected leader to get up and say, Africa is your home, you return home? Why can't you take the initiative now that you know that? Just get up one day and say, I'm going, regardless whether they told me that or not. And that's what we're doing. I think too much of us, in a way, make excuses that they have not called us home, they have not set land aside for us, they have not X, Y, and Z. No, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be taking the initiative, you know, and You know, all you see, and that's the big mistake I think we're making. We're judging Africa through European eyes and judging Africa through eyes from a European standard, which is not the case. Because the other day I heard somebody interviewing Paul Kagame, and there was basically doubting him. When are you leaving power? You've been in power for X amount of years now. How comes you? And he said the same thing. Why are you judging me by European standard? If that's how you run your system and it works for you, that's fine. Let us run ours. Hmm? The Chinese run their system in a way, and it's brought them to the second largest economy in the world. And they did not adopt Western democracy. They used a system that works for them. And I think Africa has to develop its own thing. And really and truly, as African people, if we do want to go to Africa, there's nothing stopping us. We should not make excuses about they have not called us back home. And the other thing you're saying, how many of them have spoken out about the killing in the USA and the UK, right? Again, to me, that's just excuses. Because you know, and I know, and we should all know how geopolitics work, right? There's an agreement that you don't interfere in my internal affairs, and I won't interfere in your internal affairs. And like I'm saying, a lot of the African leaders there are at the mercy of the West. The West is funding them, the West is doing everything. So they have got to tread very carefully. The ones that get emboldened and decide, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to tell the West what I want to be. No, the West has the power to overthrow them tomorrow. So what should be happening? You should be endeavoring to win over the masses. So if a leader does step up and say something that the European does not like, they will think twice before intervening because the whole masses will rise up. That's how we should be looking at it. And for your information, in terms of the killing of George Floyd, that was raised in the AU, and several African leaders did bring it up, and that was even brought up in the United Nations by several African leaders. So things are happening, but I think what we tend to do is dwell too much on the negative. We find 101 reasons why we cannot do this or we cannot do that when it comes to Africa. We put all the obstacles in the way rather than saying, let's hop around those obstacles, let's make our way there. Once we're on the ground, let's make our mark, let's make our difference, and let's make a difference. Elder Peppertine? Yeah, your mic.
I wouldn't have a lot more to add to what you've just said, Brother Tucker, but I just want to focus on a point, to focus on a point you made earlier, and that is the more of us in the diaspora who decide to return and settle in Africa, as we increase our numbers in that endeavor, we force the individual governments in those particular states to begin to recognize our existence, to begin to realize that they have a duty to accommodate our presence. And that will only happen when we take the initiative, as Brother Taka rightfully advocate. Yes, they should be saying that every African belongs to the African continent and every African have a right to return. But that's not their focus, because that's not the agenda European has given them. So that is our agenda. We have got to get behind that agenda, recognize the challenges, recognize the government are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and therefore we have to realize that we have no government And we have to become our own government in that this is what we want. This is what is best for us as African people. Africa is our home, and we have to move to Africa, settle there, regardless of the trials and tribulation and challenges. In fact, before we go, we need to find out, Africans who have gone there, what has been your experience? What are the issues that we should be mindful of? What are the things that if you're going now, you'll do better? And that must be our focus. How do we begin to seriously return to Africa and resettle? Because the Africans on the continent have no more right to Africa than us in the diaspora. We did not volunteer, our ancestors did not volunteer to leave. We were forcefully taken out, and we have to make our own return. The people who take us out not going to return us. We have to return ourselves. And to do that, we have to plan, we have to recognize the challenges, but we first have to start the return in our minds. We're African people, Africa is our home, and even if we don't plan to move there immediately, as soon as we may decide we stay where we are. But we must always see Africa as a home. And we have to ask ourselves, what is our responsibility? What is our plan and program in regards how we connect to homeland?
Yeah, that's very true. And there was a point here, where is it? That was brought up recently. I think it was this one. Hold on. No, there's one with Malema. Okay. Yeah. And he said, Julius, yes, I have heard of Malema, and he's one of the most vocal leaders talking about the entire African diaspora. And he's calling out the AU leaders of this. Yes, that is true. Malema is constant. He's constantly challenging the status quo, which is good. And we need people like that to constantly keeping the AU on its toes by pointing out a lot of things. But remember, we in the diaspora are not as voiceless as we think. When we speak and when we do certain actions, it is noticed in Africa. If not much so by the leaders, by the masses. And how do I know that? Amongst Africa has the world's youngest population. And that relates to something straight away. Youth, we know that social media is a big thing. And the amount of traffic that is now taking place on social media between African youths in the West and African youths in Africa is tremendous, believe me. It's tremendous. They're talking to each other like never before. Right? A lot of them are visiting. You may think that a 25-year-old or 20-year-old are not interested in Africa. Think again. A lot of them are making their way to the continent and are interacting with their fellow African brothers and sisters. So what I'm saying, although it may be not happening at what we would say at macro level in terms of official governmental sanction way, On a micro level, things are alive and well, and things are bubbling. Let me tell you that. So, as we ask this question, like Akon did, about is slavery holding us back? Is the fact that we're still waiting for reparation holding us back? That's undoubtedly true for many. But at the same time, for many, regardless of that, they have found themselves in Africa. They have forged a place for themselves in Africa, and they're making it work. And as Elder Pepperkai said, the more of that happens, it comes to attention of national governments that, hold on, we're now experiencing an influx of Africans from the diaspora coming in with an intention of integrating into these societies. So we can no longer pretend it's not going on, because believe me, it is going on. So it's just making the next step. And what I believe Akon is saying, okay, fine, you've gone to Africa, you've visited, you've seen the potential. Now, action is next. He made a statement that, because as you know, Akon is now a big businessman, Africa is the only place that you can build a top 500 fortune company within 5 years. Right? That's how much it's booming. That's how much it's booming. And so overall, because we are coming to the end, overall, I would say I do overall agree with what Akon said. Maybe when you actually seen him being interviewed, maybe he never said it in the best way or the most effective way, because the way he said it, a lot of people took it quite badly and reacted. It's just like a natural reaction. How dare this guy tell us forget about slavery and forget about reparations. But when you look deep at what he's really saying, he's saying if Africa is to become the focus, if Africa is to become the true powerhouse that it will become, and you want to play a part, this is the time to make a move. Because, like it or not, we can see the population of Africa now stands at, I would say, near 1.5 billion people. Right? It is estimated to grow tremendously. We can see a lot of Western companies in the East, everybody's making a detour to Africa. Why? Capitalism, in order to exist, need markets, big markets to sell product to. Africa is such a youthful market. They can see, that great possibility in terms of Africa booming in the future. So we can play a role in that. I think that's all Akon was saying. If you want to play a role, forget about the hearsays, forget about the propaganda. He himself, as a son of Africa, is telling us it is open for business. So if we do not take it up and we do not go, others definitely will. Now, it would be good for you to talk to somebody who have just or spent some time in Africa or live there and get them to feedback as to what is happening. And they will relate to you that the Chinese are moving in ever greater numbers. We're talking about 10 million plus Chinese have settled all over Africa. We are talking about the Lebanese and other Arabs entrenching themselves deeper into Africa. We are talking about India have set up put aside massive funds to target Africa. Right? We are talking about the Europeans, even though they talk with forked tongues, they're saying one thing, but behind our backs, they're heavily investing and involving all kind of things in Africa. Yet, but at the same time, they'll continue to show us this perpetual image of Africa as a basket case, as a hopeless case, not somewhere that you would like to be involved in. But take it from people like Akon, it's not just him. There's many, many more high celebrity people who have come out openly and have said diaspora should endeavor to come home. Now, even if you don't live there or don't intend to live there, have a stake there. That's what they're saying. It is there. Have a stake there, you know, because remember, it is the last place of refuge. Everybody has got somewhere they can say, if worse comes to the worst, that's where I'm heading. We must be in that position as well also. And just looking if there's any more points quickly because the man is here. But not so just overall. Akon himself is leading from the front, I do believe. Because as you know, his first project was Electrification of Africa. He went, he talked about as a child, he was in the darkness, he had no light. He lived in that state. So he then set out to get solar panels and to do it. How he does it has been quite controversial in many people's eyes, because I know he's got most of his finance and his help and the help in terms of financing the project from the Chinese. But I think the last count here was 16 African countries putting up solar panels to provide light to people. Now he's embarked on some tremendous, ambitious project. As I'm sure we're all seeing the film, was it Wakanda? We see the city of that imaginary city of Wakanda. Well, it's tantamount to something like that he's trying to do. Now, why is that important? When he announced it, I remember my son at the time, probably was about 18, and he came and said, "You see, Akon's building a city." And he got excited. It excited him. And other of his friends was excited. Wow. You know? So if the older heads are looking and doubting it, and the younger heads are excited, they're seeing an African person going to Africa and creating things that we thought only happened in Dubai. You know, only things like that only happen in the Middle East with their kind of ambition and money. It's happening on the continent of Africa. And since Akon announced it, there's been another similar scheme announced in Sierra Leone to put up another mega type city. Now, to me, what does that do? That concentrates the mind of people, African people, by telling them, look, watch, it's possible. And if we can do this, it's limitless. So in terms of the next generation who are going to make the difference, I think people like Akon is very important. What he says is very important. And it's not just a matter of him talking, he's actually putting his words into action, which is always important. So I think now we have reached the end. So I'll bring Brother Imani in. Yeah, greetings, Brother Imani. So I'd just like to apologize again today. It's just been a nightmare in terms of the technical issues that we are having. Because we've had Brother Zulu on before, and we have had Brother Sabelo on before, and the link held up and the meeting went fine. But today, very, very sad that we could not hold a link. But don't worry, something that we will do again. It's something that we are determined to reach out to our brothers and sisters in the Pan African world so we can have debates and we can talk. So yesterday wasn't technically things wasn't on our side, but there will be another day. There will be on again. So Thank you, everybody, for listening. So what I would like to do now is bring in Ndugu Imani, who will now again change the voice for us with his closing remarks.
Yes, Asante Sana, Ndugu Kahaka. And yes, it was a shame regarding our guests from Uganda and Azania. But, you know, we will persevere and we will succeed. We will succeed. As you said, we will get them back. So I'm now going to end the meeting and end the ritual. And that's going to be by changing the vibration and thinking of the ancestors and the powers that we called into our presence wherever we may be, and having gratitude, and that we are thinking about how they can help us in manifesting our objectives, and how they can now leave us now from this realm and go back to their realm and assist us. So in order to do that, I'm just going to ring this triangle chime, and thinking about it, I think I will ring it 4 times, and because 4 is the spiritual number for health, it's for growth, and it's foundation. And that's what we are trying to do here, even though we didn't do exactly what we wanted to do. But these conversations are the beginnings of our foundation of what we need to do. And as Elder Zanzo Pepekai said, we've got a long way to go, but you know, every journey starts with the first step. We build our foundations and grow from that. So, if you wish to, please do close your eyes and listen. Focus on the vibration. Let the vibration go around you, over you, and through you. And be thinking of gratitude for the ancestors we call, for the powers of the cosmos that we call, that calls for the all, the supreme consciousness that resides within all of us. And as I said again, I'll ring it 4 times for growth, health, and foundation. And Digitaka, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
So you can share that from the feed. Is that be able to? Can you see that now, Dudu?
Yeah. So,
okay. So we end on the words of power and the affirmations in Kiswahili of nguvu zote kwa watu wetu na mapenzi ya wote ni mapenzi yetu. All power to our people, and the will of the all is our will. Thank you very much, Kindred.
Yeah, that's Son. And again, I'd like to thank everybody who tuned in today. Again, I'd like to apologize again for the whole technical issues that we had. But that won't prevent us. We know every so often that will happen. But we'll speak to Brother Zulu and Brother Sabelo again, and we'll set up another date in the very near future to have them back on, because I know that they had a lot of valuable things to say. And that shows Pan-Africanism in its true sense, when we can reach out all over the Pan-African world and bring our people together so we can meet and we can discuss important issues together. So until next week, we're back with another exciting topic. I would say quite here.